This is a great conversation. Today, I'm chatting with Melinda Olsen, a sexual 2 and Enneagram therapist. Melinda really understands how creativity shows up in and out of personality. It was great to hear that articulated so clearly. This was a lot of fun. So, if you're new to this series, hi, I'm Samantha Mackay, an Enneagram coach certified through the Chestnut Paes Enneagram Academy, and I'm fascinated about what creativity looks like for the 27 subtypes of the Enneagram. Now, we don't dive into the nuances of the sexual 2 subtype here. So, if you'd like to learn more about that, I've included some links below, as well as links to Melinda's websites. All right, enjoy. So, what does creativity mean to you?
Creativity means, or has come to mean, I guess, flexibility and freedom to experiment and to create based on kind of what's going on inside of me. Didn't always mean that, but I think creativity is something that I've been developing more. It's recently been pointed out to me that I am indeed a creative, which I didn't actually really own until probably the last 2 or 3 years. So before, I think it just meant like, oh, you write songs. Creativity was for other people. I didn't really own that, but as that has grown for me, I've explored that more. Yeah. It's a flexibility and freedom.
So,
Um, yeah.
what does that translate to in terms of creative expression, either personally or professionally?
Yeah, yeah. So I found that creativity, it's like one of those ways in which I've worked on bringing my insides outward, right? Like exploring who I am and then bringing that out, which classically for twos is very difficult.
Mm,
So, I mean, right now it's like anything that explores color, like paint by number, to some of the more natural ways is interior decorating or makeup, or which I mean, sexual too, right? Like it fits
mm,
right within my wheelhouse, experimenting with uh those kinds of things. But it's also
mm,
extended in my business too. So, like trying new initiatives or creating experiences for my community or like social media, like trying to like writing, like getting some of my ideas that I've been like toying over in my brain
mm.
out on paper. I'm also a singer. So, music. So I've looked into exploring that more for myself, and that comes out fairly naturally for me. Before, I did those things in order to look a certain way or present a certain way, like for an image. And I find now it's a lot more about bringing, like I said, bringing my insides out. And so
Mm.
it's less about how people will see me and more about how I feel about it and what I love about it. It's not for other people. So
Mm.
makeup, I do makeup not for other people. I do it because I like it for me. Does
Right.
that make sense? I think it looks good, or
Yeah,
you
and
know.
I'm curious because obviously twos are all about the seduction and the sexual two, most
Yes,
is sort of
most of all.
external, yeah, seductive
Yes,
there.
yes.
And it's funny how I'm feeling your actual seductive energy in this comment. I'm feeling
Oh,
suited, but I'm curious. How did you notice that shift? I mean, we can take makeup and fashion because they are more image focused. Like,
absolutely.
what was it like to use that as a creative outlet, even unconsciously, versus how you might use it now?
Yeah, I mean, unconsciously, it was a creative like outlet, but I didn't see it that way because I was so concerned with the viewer, right? Sexual twos, I mean, we invite voyeurs, right? Like it's like, look
Mm.
at me. We want you to behold us and, find us worthy of your worship. A concrete example would be I would meticulously pick out my wardrobe before, like over the summer, before like the first day of school. And I would like look at myself in the mirror and like put together outfits and make sure, like, oh, like
Mm.
envision myself talking to like the cute boy or, like, oh, thank you. I look so great. I'm so glad that you think I look amazing, right? Like I'm an only child. We're a little odd. Lots of talking to ourselves. But yes, so that would be that would be the unconscious way that would play out.
Mm.
Um, And it was more about mimicry or like fitting in.
Okay.
I think the difference for me now, I mean, I still sense that there's still elements of that, but it's not motivated by that as much. So it's more like, wow, like that texture of that shirt is so cool. Or like, I love that dress. Like, not for what other people would view it as, but like because I like how I look and I like how I think it would look on me. And I'm
Mm.
not really thinking about this person will think I look amazing, right? Like, it's like, like, so it's different. I think the motivation, even though I think the outward maybe behavior, except for the talking to myself in the mirror in that way, looks similar. I think the internal motivation feels very different because I'm looking at these things or like I'm choosing things for myself and thinking, wow, like, I think this would look great. I love
Mm.
this. Oh, you
And
don't like it? Oh, well. Okay.
so in you talked about music and other forms of creative expression of things you don't have to show to someone else. Because obviously makeup and clothes you tend to show to us. With let's take music. Do you still show it to other people?
See, and that's the difference. Now, no, but before, like I would perform.
Yeah, okay.
So it would be all about the performance or how good I sounded. Interior design, I think, is actually a different thing. So that's less about display and more about creating spaces that like fit a feeling or like serve a purpose for the person I'm designing for or for myself so that I feel a certain way in a space. Um, so that was a conscious shift. And it's not about, it's nice that people like where, like what I design or like how my creativity feels, but really it is about creating a space that I feel good in.
Mm.
And that's very different, right? So it really is, I think, a shift from performance, display, image, and creating for others and shifting that towards creating for me, like out of myself.
Mm. And so I'm curious, what supports you to maintain that shift? Because obviously you've known you're a sexual two for a while, you've been doing inner work for a while, but what continues to support you to focus on bringing what's in out?
Mm. Well, I mean, right now, I think it's been a lot of slowing down and not doing as much because when I do a lot, I tend to shift. I get stressed and anxious, and then I shift into the coping mechanism of doing for others
Mhm.
because it's a way that I cope, right? And so definitely slowing down. And then honestly, like my word for the year has been rhythm. And
Mm.
so it really is like keeping to the I'm self-preserve, keeping more to the self-preservation things that I tended to neglect. And so going to the doctor's appointments and doing my working out like I'm supposed to and making sure I'm taking my supplements. And it's very concrete. I'm making sure I'm getting enough alone time, right? It's it's this concrete rhythm, like I'm going to therapy. I'm not spending as much time like I'm in pajamas right now, right? Like I'm focusing on comfort and slowing down, but also just a rhythm of taking care of myself and my body in a way that I haven't in the past. That then grounds me and helps me to listen into my internals. And then from the inside, I can kind of create outward from the inside outward.
Mm.
And I think there's something to that too, as well, where creating for others, there's a lot of anxiety. Like, is this going to work? Like, are they going to like it? Like, are they going to like receive this well? But in more of these like slower self-pres spaces, I find that creativity is a lot more about joy. It's it's not about there's not an anxiety to it about how people are going to view it. And it's a lot more of, oh, like how do I feel about this? Or what do I think?
Mm.
And then the creativity, like what do I want to do because I want to do it? How do I want to create because I want to create it? And there's so much more joy in it
Mm.
than there ever was before. So I as unsexy and maybe uncreative as it is, that rhythm, And that grounding that really, I think, helps me to be creative, like in a space that comes from inside of me.
Mm. I mean, as a seven, I've always found having structure to be incredibly creative, even though every fiber of
Totally.
my being says it's the worst thing in the world.
Yes. But I so resonate with you in that too. Structure is really hard for me to create sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah. But the rhythm of it, I feel like, is so helpful, right? Because I also have a rhythm to my day and a rhythm to my week.
I think
And that
rhythm's a
helps me
really
to stay
beautiful
grounded.
word. And
And
I think there's so much creativity in rhythm as I think about dancing and about
mm-hmm.
movement
Yep.
and not sexy dancing. You just
No,
rein that tango back in.
no, it's like it's about listen with the rhythm. I mean, the best part about it is like listening to the music because you love the music. And when I think of rhythm in terms of that, I think of, yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to describe with words, but
Mm,
the music goes through you and you feel it in yourself. It's not about, again, it's not about performance or display. It's about,
yeah.
yeah, feeling it.
And so, do you still experience creative blocks or times where you sort of, I mean, what's that
Yes.
like?
Oh my gosh. It's really difficult because I find creative blocks happen like when when I'm like cut off from myself, which is a constant struggle, right? So
Uh-huh.
creative blocks are like happen when I'm not able to tune into myself. And so I find this like for example with my business a lot. My two businesses, Havenly and Invitera. Invitera is my counseling business, and then Havenly is my therapy helping persons collective that I own. And I just find that when I'm in tune with myself, like finding things for those like two businesses and working things out, writing or doing whatever in a creative space, like and it's this joyful fountain. And when I the creative block comes when I'm like, I I don't know what I need uh, in my business, or I don't know what would be good here because I don't know what I want to do. Like
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. So twos can probably relate to this, like experiencing that blank that comes up when they think through what they need or who they are. And there is a joke around the office that I could kind of like help anybody else, like, oh, like your business would be great with this or this or this, or oh my God, like have you thought about this? Like the creativity just like comes out around other people. But then
Right.
I try to turn that to myself and I'm like, must business, don't know what to do. So that's happening less now, but I experience a lot of creative blocks when I'm not tuned into myself.
Mm. It's interesting. Almost with twos, it almost seems easy to make that stark distinction. Do you know what you need or you not know what you need? And when you know what you need and you've been able to connect into that, which takes a lot of effort, then that flow starts to happen in that sort of creative for myself space.
Yes,
It's,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that and for me, it's not only just been what I need, but who I am, right? I think sometimes it's hard to tease apart the knot of like, do I actually like that? Or do I like that because somebody I'm close to likes that, you know? And so even knowing why or how you like something or why or how you're like attracted to something is hard without effort,
Mm.
you
That's
know?
so interesting because I find that hard. But for me, it's an inability to access the heart. So the heart center is good at differentiating between likes and dislikes, pleasant and unpleasant.
Yes.
And I can often just go, well, it doesn't matter that it's unpleasant,
Mm,
or does it matter if I like that or not? And just almost not having that data at all. And so
mm-hmm,
it's interesting to hear you as a two can even struggle to differentiate between those things.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. Though I feel like the differentiator definitely is like, d- did I do this thing all along? Like I found myself deep into hobbies that I would have never
Mm,
pursued on my own, but I found myself in it because I wanted to connect with the person that I wanted to connect with, right?
mhm.
Like, do I even like this? I don't like games. I used to really play a lot of games in college because all of the kids in college played games. I don't like games. I don't
Mhm.
I don't want to play games. I'll play them with my son because, he loves them. So the same thing with books, music, art, aesthetic, clothes, fashion, like any of these things that I love to kind of work out my creativity in. I find that, yeah, knowing what I like has been difficult.
Yeah, and so it's really interesting to hear you say that it's no knowing what you like is almost part of your creative process.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so that's why it's so important to tune into myself because otherwise,
Mm.
like I could just like something because the person that I really want to connect with thinks that this artist is amazing. And I'm like, well, I could see that. Like, I could see blah, blah, blah. And it's not like I don't like it or not. One of my friends really likes Josh Groban. Like, yeah, like I could see like Josh Groban being a great singer. Do I love Josh? Do I want to sing like Josh? No,
Mm.
no. Right. So it's like, yeah, it's just, it is a part of my creative process. It's about tuning in, like I said, to myself and understanding like I have my own tastes and the things that I like and it's going to be different than the things that the people that I love like, and that's okay. And I don't have to consume, like, I don't have to create things for others' consumption.
Mm. Right at the start, you said creativity is flexibility and adaptability. And so I'm
Hmm.
curious about how that weaves in with this part of you that is about getting to understand you more and
Hmm.
finding out what you like. How do these two things connect?
So I think flexibility and adaptability to like embrace and understand myself as opposed to perfection. When I think of perfection, in a lot of ways, I'm thinking what the other person thinks is like perfection for me is like fulfilling another person's whatever aesthetic to the best of my ability.
Right. Okay.
Right. And so it's like freedom and flexibility is are two things that I'm practicing as a part of my embracing myself and who I am. And so like I need to have the freedom to say, oh, actually, I don't like that thing you like, or oh, like it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to fulfill your need in some way. I don't have to fulfill what your idea of perfection is. Like I don't have to be something for consumption for you. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if that's making sense. It's a part of my work right now to because I'm such a people pleaser, or I've classically been such a people pleaser. Part of my not exerting so much energy in that is like embracing kind of the flexibility of and freedom of just letting things be. And I think that's part of creativity as well. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like I'm not going to try to make everything perfect or look perfect for somebody. It's about tuning into myself and having that flexibility and freedom to say, like, it is what it is. Like, this is what I like. This is a part of who I am. Oh, that's different than I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, that's different than I thought it would be. Or, oh, like, I don't actually like that. And I think sometimes it's been hard to say, oh, I actually don't like that thing, even though he loves it or they love it. So, yeah, that's what I mean by flexibility and freedom and that,
That
like
makes a lot of
the
sense.
freedom to say no. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
my
yeah.
last question is what creation, personal or professional, are you most proud of?
Right now, I feel like the creation I'm most proud of. It's my interior design of my office right
Mm.
now. I'm most proud of that because I designed it for me. And when I first started designing it, I was designing it for my clients. So when I first started designing my office, I'm like, well, what do they need? And how do I want them to feel when they walk into the room? And yeah, that's still important. But then I was like, well, but I'm the tool of my work and this is where
Mm.
I am every day and I get to be here. And I have a beautiful self-pres boyfriend who like she's my work wife. She's my BFF. She's like all the things and she helps me a lot with this. And so she's like, yeah, well, what do you want? Like,
Mm.
and she's a great example of that for me. So I love that space. I love the color. Every time I walk in, it's like I take a deep breath. I can breathe. I take a deep breath of not relief, but it's almost like this is my space in the world that feels very me and very cocooning. And I just, yeah, I love that space. That's the thing I'm the most proud of right now. And like allowing that I can change whatever I want in there
Mm.
as my likes and dislikes and who I am like shifts and adapts. And yeah, so yeah, it's kind of the space where I can exhibit the most or like exhort the most freedom, or I can just change it around however I feel like on the inside, and like tapping into myself, giving myself the permission to be able to do something different. And maybe that doesn't sound like a big deal to others, but like it's a big deal for me.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a,
To even be in tune with it.
yeah, our creative spirit is so easily wounded,
It
and
is.
to give it permission to flourish and like it takes a lot of effort and intention to allow it to come back online in a way that there is complete ease there. So
Absolutely.
it is a really big
Yeah.
thing. So great work with that.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun. So
Yeah. Thanks.